everyone, welcome to another Underrated Film Saturday, and today I thought it would be interesting to briefly discuss the 1999 drama called The Insider, starring Russell Crowe and Al Pacino. Now this movie has been sort of recognized because it has been nominated for various awards. However, it didn't really win the big awards that it was nominated for. And I think as a result, it kind of got swept under the bus, and nobody seems to really remember it or look at it, even though it stars some big names like Russell Crowe and Al Pacino. So let me kind of go through my reasons as to what the film's about, and why I think it's sort of overlooked. So, this is actually based on a true story about a man named Jeffrey Wigand. Wanted to get the last name right. He worked for a tobacco company, and he was basically a whistleblower for the against the company when he realized that they were doing things that were pretty unethical. And if you think that already selling cigarettes to people is considered unethical, well, it kind of goes a little bit deeper than that. And I don't want to give that aspect away because I think that aspect's very important and is a really pivotal moment within the film. So I don't really want to spoil that. But again, there's a lot more to it than some people would probably think. So that's something I think that's important to note into regards to what the film's about. But the results of him coming out create a huge spiral in his life. I mean, this man has to go through a lot of pain in order to really just say the truth. And it seems like that a lot of people end up really punishing him for it. I mean, even his close, intimate family, and I mean his family, not the family that raised him, because they're never shown in the film. But you'll see how the family sort of is torn apart just by him coming out against these people who were trying to push this thing within the company, and it really shows you like how crazy of a society we are when somebody who's trying to do the right thing doesn't get the credit. And ultimately, I think the film really showcases that aspect really well. And I think it plays a huge role into sort of us understanding the concepts of what maybe whistleblowers like have to go through. And I think this is definitely one that is worthy of discussion. And I think it's definitely one of the more talked about issues, in particular dealing with tobacco. So it's really an interesting sort of setup that they have, but it really does show you how ultimately his good intentions really end up backslapping him because of the consequences that they create, which is unfortunate because, you know, he really doesn't deserve to have any consequences really happen to him because all he's doing is just saying what the truth is. So again, it kind of just shows you how messed up this society was, at least back then, in regards to the issue, because they even show all of the CEOs from all the different tobacco companies. I guess they call them the Seven Dwarves, and they basically went up to Congress and said, no, I don't think nicotine's addictive, even though they clearly knew that they were. But that's really not the secret. That's not the reasoning as to why Jeffrey sort of steps up. There's a sort of other hidden message in there that is based upon really around greed, which is what these tobacco companies were trying to sort of do with their cigarettes. And you'll sort of see what that is and the whys if you choose to watch the film. But really, that's what it's all about um, uh, in regards to the plot. But I also want to emphasize, though, Al Pacino's role in this film, because his role is pretty pivotal as well. He plays a journalist who gets in contact with Jeffrey and asks him if he's willing to break that story. That's basically what ends up happening. And Jeffrey at first is very skeptical, but then he ultimately decides to go with it. And they sort of have this quasi friendship, Al Pacino and Russell Crowe's character Jeffrey, in the film. So, and yeah, by the way, Russell Crowe plays Jeffrey, Al Pacino plays the journalist, and basically, even though they have a little friendship, there's still a lot of struggles that end up happening, especially when there's certain things that once Jeffrey breaks the story reveal about his sort of personal life that demonize his credibility, and you'll see how that really plays in. And Al Pacino, I think, gives a really good performance in this film. He really does stand out, and you do feel like he is a reporter. He is a journalist. He is someone who's trying to get a story. And at the same time, though, he does really sympathize with Jeffrey, and he does feel his pain and what he's going through. And yeah, I think that's really the important thing that it tries to bring to the table. And it's hard because Jeffrey's really the one who ends up suffering the most in this film, because he's really the story. And again, like I said, sometimes the ethical things end up causing a lot of damage to us, even though we don't really deserve it. Which is, I think, very unfortunate, but I think that's sometimes the circumstances, and this film really highlights it well. And I don't think I've seen a film that's actually highlighted really this point. There's been other films that have hinted at it, but never have really explored it in this much depth as this film. Again, the reasons to why I think it's underrated involve the fact that, again, it was nominated for a lot of things, but didn't win anything. And I think that's what ends up happening with a lot of films that end up being good, but not getting the ultimate award. I think that's really what brings them under the rug, is because, you have a film out there that's been recognized, and then once it's realized it doesn't win anything, you usually see people put it under the bus, or people don't even know that this film exists. I didn't even know this film exists until I stumbled upon it. So I think that's really the major reason, because it did have a good director, because the director was noted, I think, for a lot of other films. It did have a good acting and great story, and I think they really did justice to what they were trying to showcase in the film, the true story, even though they even admit at the end that certain things are fabricated for Hollywood purposes, I like to call them. And and usually films that even are based on a true story, they don't even mention that, oh yeah, we fabricated certain things. But the fact that this film actually mentions, hey, some things are a little bit over dramatized here, I think sort of says something. It's being clear to you. It's not trying to hide based on a true story. So I think that was a good thing that the director chose to have that explanation in there. And that's really the heart of the film. Even though it's not as of a direct plot, like having some. I mean, the struggle is to get the Jeffrey story on the air on 60 Minutes. That's really the struggle within the story, and you'll see the sort of politics that end up playing in there that make it very difficult for Al Pacino to get it onto 60 Minutes. So that's really at the heart of the film. Um, and the results sort of are explained um, as part of the ending, but it's fairly loose into showing sort of Jeffrey's life and how ultimately it's really impacted. And that's, I think, really another big part of the film, and that's why the film might meander a bit. But I think overall it stands out as being one that is, I think, a credible, um, based on a true story type film. And if you enjoy those kinds of films, I think this one would be definitely worth a recommendation if you're interested. If there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.